And joining us now with more on the security situation in Judea and Samaria is CEO and founder of the Israel Defense and Security Forum, Brigadier General in the Reserves, Amir Avivi. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
So first of all, what can you tell us about the recent escalations in the West Bank?
What we're seeing in the West Bank is involvement of Iran, of Hamas. The strategy has changed. They are focusing their attacks more on cells in Judea and Samaria, while wanting to keep Gaza in a more stable situation so they can take care economically of the society there, and also in order to build up the capabilities. Both Hamas and Islamic Jihad have suffered heavy losses in Gaza. They are building up against their forces, and therefore they are concentrating their attacks in Judea and Samaria under Iranian umbrella. Iran has said clearly that they are going to focus on Judea and Samaria and carry out attacks from there.
Now, there are some that are calling this the beginning of another Intifada. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't see it as an Intifada in the sense that it's not the general public that wants to go out and demonstrate. This is terror cells, well-funded, coordinated by terror organizations. Intifada is a whole different thing. It's something that comes from large parts of the society. Having said that, I must say that the Palestinian Authority is a big part of the problem, because they keep inciting the society in the schools against Israel, against Jews, and therefore the overall atmosphere that they are creating in Judea and Samaria encourages terror attacks.
Now, you mentioned the Palestinian Authority. I mean, there were recent reports that a number of Palestinian Authority members were arrested by the IDF in recent raids. I mean, what exactly is the role of the Palestinian Authority in the terrorist attacks or in the planning of the terrorist attacks? I mean, what can you tell us about this?
Well, first of all, what is happening is that many of the terrorists that already attacked Israel and were released from jail are absorbed into the Palestinian Authority apparatus. So more and more people inside the Palestinian Authority are convicted terrorists. And we see also a rising in the attacks of organizations who are PLO, like Al-Aqsa Shaheeds. And these organizations are carrying more and more attacks, as they did in Ariel City. The Palestinian Authority is not only inciting, it's also lost control of the overall situation. And I don't think that the solution is strengthening them. The IDF and the Shin Bet, they are responsible of restoring security in this region.
But I have to ask, why now? I mean, why is there an uptick in the terrorist attacks now? I mean, what brought this on?
Well, as I said, this is part of the strategy of Iran with its militias, with Hamas, with Islamic Jihad. They want to move the attacks from Gaza to Judea and Samaria. They are bringing a lot of money, of know-how, of incitement, and trying to push as many terror cells as possible to attack. Now, this is very similar to what we saw at the beginning of the year 2000, 2001, and 2. Many of the suicide bombers at the time were funded by Hezbollah through Iran. So once again, we see deep involvement of the Iranians, who are also feeling emboldened because of the West and the way the West is surrendering to their demands, talking about the JCPOA and the nuclear talks. And this is part of Iran feeling strong enough and carrying the attacks in Judea and Samaria.
Now, I also want to talk for a moment about another issue, and that's the ease of restrictions for foreigners in the West Bank. The government, the Coordination for Government Activities in the Territories, or COGAT, which is the Israeli body responsible for the Palestinian civilian affairs, recently issued an extensive, 90-page document. It's dropped a number of restrictions. What can you tell us about this decision?
Well, I can tell you that overall, Colgate is very favorable of everything that has to do with economics, of helping the Palestinians prosper. And I think that in this sense, I don't think that the policy really changed. But as Prime Minister Lapid said, in places where there will be terror attacks, Israel not only needs to foil these attacks and retaliate, but also demand the price economically and demand that part of the economical prosperity will be dependent on areas not having terror attacks on Israel.
All right, let's hope that we'll have some calm in the coming weeks. Brigadier General in the Reserves, Amir Avivi, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, it's Emmanuel Kadosh. I wanted to invite you all to subscribe to ILTV+, where you can find our daily news and updates about Israel. And not only that, but live feeds, entertainment, our kosher food show, and so much more. Needless to say, your subscription to ILTV+ helps us grow and create more content while also supporting the state of Israel. Our app is available on all platforms and devices, so I'll see you guys there.